Hi, I'm Jonathan Weinberg. Um, Today I'm going to talk about an interesting pen that really I didn't get because for drawing, but because I like Frank Lloyd Wright so much, and there was a great deal on eBay. So this is a Frank Lloyd Wright pen that is made by Acme Studios, and it's also authorized by the Taliesin West, which is the foundation that was based on Frank Lloyd Wright's last studio in his school, and then it becomes a foundation in his lifetime. And they sell it on Acme Studios website, but also I think at Taliesin West and at various museums where they feature Frank Lloyd Wright's work. And the design basically of a lot of the Acme Studio pens is they use the same pen, but they print on it a design that is based on a particular artist's work. Also, they have Frank Lloyd Wright's signature on it. It comes in a really nice box, metal box, and it's got Frank Lloyd Wright's signature, the architect, and it also has one of his building designs. I'll say more about it. So you open it up. This is where the pen would be. You get a little tiny little booklet or tag that tells you that Frank Lloyd Wright was born in Wisconsin in 1867, and he grew up to be America's greatest and most innovative architect. His legacy is one of America's foremost cultural treasures. In 1940, he established the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation to protect, preserve, and administer his life work. In 1991, Architecture Record magazine published a list of the 100 most significant buildings in the world, and 11 were by Frank Lloyd Wright. And then it says this is a Frank Lloyd Wright collection product that has been authorized by the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, Taliesin West, which is in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the product supports the conservation and education programs of the foundation. And then, of course, it says Acme Studio, which is actually in Maui, Hawaii. And then there's a little booklet that tells you, or a little fold out that tells you how to take care of a fountain pen. The pen itself is has a converter in it, and it's metal. And you can see this is the converter, and I have it inked up already, so I'm not gonna fool around with that. And then it screws on like that, and you can see that here's this design. This design I'm going to show you comes from the Ennis house. Now I adore Frank Lloyd Wright. I've loved Frank Lloyd Wright's work since I was in college. I was an undergraduate at Yale, and I studied with the legendary art historian, architectural historian Vincent Scully, and he wrote a lot about Frank Lloyd Wright and lectured about Frank Lloyd Wright. And as a result, I one summer went to Chicago and looked at his houses, and I've toured houses in California, and also he designed buildings in Lakeland in Florida, so I've been there. And actually I've done, when I was in college, I did all these drawings. I'll put some of them up that I made of prairie style houses, his early houses. This design is based on the Ennis house, which has these amazing concrete blocks. And to show you how much I love his work, when I think I was in Lakeland, I got this, which is based on these blocks that Frank Lloyd Wright developed that were tied together, and he then this starts happening in the 20s, and then he uses this all the way through in his buildings into the 40s and 50s, and he used these different blocks that would be tied together, and this is a paperweight based on that particular design. A lot of you may know the Ennis House because it appears in Blade Runner. It's also been in several other movies. The pen itself is all metal, and the nib, it's German, and I'm not sure who makes it. It could be Block, or it could be Jovo, I guess, who makes German nibs. But actually, I was quite surprised that it writes really well. So let me just show you a size comparison. So you can see here. And again, you can see this sort of block design. This is not the Ennis House block design, but it is similar. And you can see the size comparison. Here is Lamy Safari. It's a little smaller, but it's quite a heavy pen. It's a metal pen. Or this is the TWSBI Echo. And it's a middle-sized pen. In a way, it reminds me of the Conklin Durograph, which itself is kind of based on a whole range of earlier pens, like Parker has a pen that's similar to this. You can see that I think that's similar to the design. And what Acme Studio does is, let's say they're doing a Leonardo da Vinci pen, and they take the pattern from Leonardo da Vinci drawing and they put it on the same pen, or they will get an architect, a contemporary architect, to do a design, and they'll put that on the pen. They have actually, and I have one of them, they have done some other pens which are completely architecturally designed, and those are interesting in a way that this isn't. And again, remember, Frank Lloyd Wright did not design this pen. He is responsible for the pattern which is being used on the pen. Nevertheless, I kind of like it. It's handsome. So I will just do a little. And this is, I would say, it's a medium. It's almost a bold. Bernanke, this is Bernanke Noodlers. Black. And I was pleasantly surprised that the nib writes very smoothly. The nib is very stiff, doesn't have any flex to it, but it's very pleasant the way it writes. So my guess is that it's a Jovo nib, but there's no mention of that on their website that I could find, like who makes it. It says on the nib itself, which is quite nice. I don't know if you can see it, but it says, well, you can see that it's sort of gold-plated, and it says on it that it is made in Germany. I couldn't find on the pen, you can see it as a clip that says Acme, but I couldn't find on the pen anywhere, anything that says where the pen is made, and it wouldn't surprise me if the pen itself might be, the base of the pen might be made in China, but who knows? As I say, the company is based in Hawaii, and they do a lot of custom pens for museums that then are sold for exhibitions. And I think they do pens for companies, etc. But given that, I am very pleasantly surprised how nicely this writes. The ink is interesting. I've started to use it because it dries, supposedly dries quite quickly, and it's waterproof. Anyway, the pen, according to the sales on eBay, it said that they were discontinuing this model, but they do have several other models of Frank Lloyd Wright pens on the website, and they go for around $140. But I was able to get this for around $60, and it seems almost like new. So I think it was a good deal, and it goes well with my Frank Lloyd Wright paperweight, right? So there you go. Now